Welcome to this episode of Poorly Researched Productivity Video Essay. Is it good advice or misinformation? That's the best part. You get to decide. Now, today's topic is sleep. Sleep is actually kind of a cool concept if you think about it. It is this activity that we're supposed to do for about a third of our day. We have invented specialized equipment to help us do it better. And the way we do it is by losing consciousness, tripping balls in our heads for what feels like 20 minutes, and then we wake up and it's magically light outside and 6 to 8 hours later. Or 12 if you fucked up. Fundamentally, it's kind of a weird concept, at least to me, but sometimes this feature may seem like something that the devs created just for us to waste our time. Why? Why do I have to spend a whole 1/3 of my day in this fucking ad break? Does God really need that much dream revenue? Are the church sub donations really not enough? Why do we all have this built-in 70-30 revenue split that, when we try to change it, it just completely fucks our life up? Why can't I just use an ad blocker? Well, I believe that the following solution is the answer to all of your sleep problems. That's right, we're gonna do crack cocaine. The real reason that we need to sleep a certain amount every day is actually something that we usually don't think about in our day-to-day. Contrary to some people's belief, you are not a giraffe and you cannot function on 4.6 hours of sleep. That is bad for you. The goal of this video is for me to briefly convince you that sleep is, surprise, a good thing. And the rest of the video will be me giving out strategies and hacks to help you make your sleep schedule more human than giraffe. But first, mandatory disclaimer: if you somehow kill yourself with these methods, you're responsible, etc., whatever the fuck. Okay, great. Now that I have that liability out of the way, I can talk about science without being a science man. And also, the only source I will likely be citing in this entire video are my 12th grade psychology notes on sleep. As you can see, there's only 2 pages on that, so I wasn't exactly a star student. And if I miss anything in this video, it is because I am focusing on things that were important from my experience. YouTube, I'm not spreading misinformation. I am just dumb as shit. Now, before you improve your sleep schedule, you have to actually want to do it. In my previous video, how I explained why games can be brain rot, I made the analogy that your energy at the beginning of a day is like money that you're given to spend. Well, if you don't make an effort to earn that money, you will be broke. You will have no energy. And I don't know about you, but I like having energy to work with throughout my day and not stumbling around like a goddamn idiot. If it helps, pretend that when you're sleeping, you're farming cryptocurrency, but it's like energy. Number 2, sleep keeps you healthy. Yeah, I think this is one that is kind of obvious to most people. It prevents sickness, but it also improves a lot of other aspects of your health, like helping your muscles regenerate, and it also repairs your spine fluid when you sleep, which can prevent stuff like Alzheimer's. Number 3, sleeping just gives you a bunch of general functionality status buffs. You get to enjoy clear and reasonable thinking, basically just post-sleep clarity, improve physical strength and physical endurance, which I think is a non-negotiable for everyone. If you are a gym rat, this benefit should be especially apparent to you. If you are someone who goes to the gym and you still run on a minimal sleep and you think that's fine, I really don't know what to tell you. You're not a Sigma, you're just dumb. Go sleep right now. And when you sleep well, you also enjoy the benefit of not blue screening every time you stand up, and you get improved reaction time. And, conversely, the downsides of a slow reaction time range from not being able to smack a bug on your arm to literal death because you got behind the wheel while you were drowsy. Or maybe you were the one who got hit because you did not have enough speed or strength or stamina to dodge roll out of the way. Now, for you gifted and talented lobotomites who think that minimal sleep is still manageable to run on, or maybe you are delusional enough to think that minimal sleep is something that benefits you, it makes me think that maybe you've never been responsible enough to fit enough hours of sleep into your schedule. In this section, I will be explaining how the REM sleep cycle works, so you can weaponize it to your advantage. So the whole REM sleep cycle occurs for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, but it can be different for different people. During stage 1 or N1, you are barely asleep. This stage lasts for about 5 to 10 minutes, and it only occurs when you're just about to fall asleep. At this stage, you are very prone to waking up. During N2, you are sleeping light. This stage lasts until about the 25 or 30 minute minute mark, making the duration of N2 about roughly 20 minutes, I think. During this stage, it takes roughly 10 or more seconds for you to wake up. In N3, you are in deep sleep. N3 lasts until roughly the 1 hour mark, making the length of N3 about a half hour long. You are very hard to wake in this stage because it is deep sleep.
Prank him, John. You already know.
Then for the rest of the cycle, you have REM sleep, which gets longer the more consecutive cycles you sleep. It is during REM sleep that you trip the balls the most. After REM sleep, you go back into N2, and the cycle loops until you wake up. Now, as I mentioned before, the total number of minutes in a cycle can be 90 minutes to 2 hours roughly, but this differs from person to person. You might sleep 6 sleep cycles in one night, while someone else might sleep 4. And that brings me to another thing that I just want to tackle before we move on. The whole 8 hours thing. Is it actually, like, true or not? Because obviously 8 hours is what everyone is told is healthy for you. Well, here are some interesting facts to consider. If humans are allowed to sleep unhindered, we will actually sleep for somewhere around 10 hours. Albert Einstein is someone who famously did this. I actually try to do that when I can because I actually feel a lot better if I let myself sleep and wake up naturally. Another fact is that 6 hours is actually a functional number. You can live off of 6 hours. However, you have to have very good nutrition and very good mental health for this to not have a significant impact on your life. 5 hours and below is some pretty bad shit. With enough 5-hour nights in succession, you accumulate something called sleep debt, which is actually a real term. I did not make it up for the video. When you accumulate sleep debt, it gets hard because it gets difficult because you need to pay it off eventually. Now, where did the whole 8 hours thing come from? Well, it actually came from a proposal where a Welsh guy proposed 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of leisure. It was not related to sleep. He was not a sleep scientist. So given that, 8 hours might work for you, but it might also not work for some other people. So just keep that in mind when you're figuring out how to sleep. And that's why knowing your sleep cycle is useful for when we discuss hacks later.
これがアメリカンジョークです。なるほど。
Okay, now that we know how sleep works, I will tell you how to tell how long your sleep cycle is. Figuring out the length of your sleep cycle can be different if you don't have an on-hand sleep scientist, but you can still DIY it. The way that I figured out how long my sleep cycle is by measuring how I felt after I wake up. So, as I mentioned before, when you sleep in different stages, and I learned in my psychology class that if you wake up when you're in REM or N3, you'll feel a lot worse when you wake up because when you're in N3 or REM, your brain waves are significantly longer, and when you're awake, your brain waves are a lot shorter. So when you wake up in those deep sleep stages, your brain is basically being jarred from having long brain waves going to short brain waves. I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this. I hope you get the idea. Basically, okay, it's as if you went from sitting on the couch doing nothing, and then you jumped off the couch and then immediately did 20 reps on a bench press with no warm-up. It's very jarring. Now, if you wake up during N2, which is at the very end of one sleep cycle, you'll feel a lot better because N2 is light sleep, and therefore your brainwaves will still be a bit longer, but they won't be as long as deep sleep. You will feel less groggy and more fresh. So to find your sleep schedule, set a timer to what you think it might be, take a nap, and then measure how you feel when you wake up. If you feel fresh, that means you succeeded and you woke up in N2. If you wake up and you feel like you just dry swallowed 50 marbles, then you probably woke up in deep sleep or REM. Knowing this information will actually help you take naps in the future as well, because you can avoid overnapping, where you plan to take a nap for, I don't know, like 20 minutes or an hour and a half, and you end up sleeping for a whole night's worth of sleep, and you wake up 10 hours later not knowing what year it is. And if you want to let me know how long your sleep cycle is, feel free to comment below your length, so I can compare my length with yours. Mine is about the standard hour and a half, so it's a little on the shorter side.
またねバイバイ
Now, here's the fun part. The rest of the video is going to be strategies that are going to show you how to manipulate your dumb human body into doing what you want it to do This first section is going to discuss safer hacks. There's a lot of things that you can actually do to manipulate your sleep. Obviously, activities before bed should be taken into consideration. If you're doing something that requires a lot of physical exertion, it might make you tired, but it might actually make it hard to sleep because your body is going to be all fired up. So I would not recommend exercising just before you go to sleep. Reading is actually a good way to help you get to sleep, and reading before bed, in my experience, will make me incredibly sleepy. Just pretend that it's like sleeping pills, but instead of taking drugs, you're gaining knowledge. Okay, now this is important. Look at me, all right? Scrolling on your phone does not count as reading, okay? It does not. Just because you are reading words on a screen does not mean you are reading. Looking at a screen will trick your brain into thinking you're awake, which will throw off your rhythm, and that is bad for you. And obviously the most common sleep strat is to use an alarm. But don't do it just for the purpose of waking up in the morning. Also do it for the purpose of keeping your sleep cycle consistent. And the last note, sleep posture is important. I know that sleep posture can help you sleep better. I actually don't know a whole lot about sleep posture. Yeah, just sleep good, I guess. Don't twist yourself in a Gordian knot when you sleep.
I'm N-O-Tori!
Okay, now this next section is going to be discussing some strategies that might be a little bit more risky, so I wouldn't indulge in these too much. I'm gonna get out of the way the forbidden jutsu that I think is a forbidden strat that you should never do. Do not do drugs. That is not good for you. Do not do drugs to help you stay awake or to help you go to sleep. Just don't do it. Do anything else. Like watch hentai. I don't know. Do anything else. I don't think you should use coffee to stay awake. I think it's fine to use coffee in the morning, but I personally don't want to do it because I don't want to get dependent on this drink that costs $12 at a local Starbucks. Okay, now the actual strategies. If you are feeling drowsy, but you still have some kind of obligation to do, naps are a good temporary solution. I would treat naps like tourniquets or G Fuel. I think it's fine to use them, but I do not think you should become dependent on them. Power naps are probably the one that you've heard of the most. These are roughly 20 minutes, I'd say, and it's a good sized blood bag to help you like stay awake and give you energy. Do be careful not to slip into N3 at around the half-hour mark, because otherwise that could trigger a whole night's worth of sleep from trying to do a 20-minute nap. And finally, people in the military might not be able to get a full night's worth of sleep in one night. So what they do is they try and cram as much sleep as possible into their waking hours. And because of this, a lot of people who use this method have the ability to just like fall asleep at the drop of a hat. This method consists of mostly really small cat naps, at least when I've used it. I will say that once you do get the hang of it, it can be very useful when your schedule is tight. I usually use this method when I'm waiting at an airport, or when I'm in an active war zone, or if I have been irresponsible and I have a lot of homework to do. Speaking of which, this next hack is something to help you give you some more time. This one is directly from my notes, so it's probably true. I mentioned before that too many nights of successive 5 hours sleep is bad for you. However, you can completely diminish the effects of 2 nights of 5 hours of sleep if the third night is a full 10 hours. And if you do that, you can eliminate all the sleep debt. And another similar strat, you can take 1 day of extremely minimal sleep, like 1.5 to 4 hours, as long as the next day is 10 hours. You can technically be fine if you sleep poorly as long as the second or third night afterwards is a good sleep. It's still a questionable method. I would be careful with it. I would not get dependent on this strategy, but it's still something to keep in mind. Now, Nikola Tesla allegedly slept 2 hours a night. So why can't we? Well, because 2 hours of sleep would require you to take scheduled naps throughout your day. Roughly 20 minutes every 4 hours, I think. This way of sleeping is called a polyphasic way of sleeping. I did try it at one point. I tested it for about 5 days. I will say yes, it did give me more energy, but it was incredibly hard to get used to, and I folded after 5 days because I started to feel like really bad. However, I did try it when I was like 16, so maybe now my 19-year-old body can take it, but I'm still probably not going to do it, and there's a reason why. The human body is wired to sync up with the 24-hour day. This cycle is called circadian rhythm. It basically prepares your body for sleep and for being awake. So if you are taking regular 20-minute naps every 4 hours, this could like throw off your rhythm because you are literally going against what your body is wired to do. So I think maybe this method is actually possible and it would help you stay up for more hours. However, even if you did have more energy, you would still severely feel like shit. Okay, so this this last strat is a little bit questionable. Not really because it's risky, but it's kind of TOS. It's scientifically proven that after you to conclude, sleep is good for you. Do it. If you learn how your sleep cycle works, you can manipulate it. Sleep hacks exist. Do not use them too much. You are not David Goggins. Bottom line is, sleep enough hours. If you're not gonna sleep enough hours, at least know how to do it so that you don't kill yourself. There is a method to the madness. Do me a favor and press all those funny little buttons underneath the video to help me stop getting butt fucked by the algorithm.